Here we are, another episode of Liquid Lunch. Daryl Barr is hosting. I'm happy to have Neil and Tina Stokes of vegan Stokes Cheese with us here today, and Jen Frankel, the writer, as my co-host. This will be a show, people, for you to drool over. If you can see the setup here, it is just wonderful. So, Tina, maybe tell us, how did this all start, the whole vegan
So
cheese thing?
it really started when I went vegan.
Okay, and when was that?
That was about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm married to a diehard carnivore. And so we had animal products at just about every meal. And I came across some slaughterhouse footage that just devastated me.
Right.
I mean, we all know that our food comes from animals, but I just didn't make the connection until I visually saw it. And I was absolutely crazy about cheese at the time. And I didn't think that cheese was cruel. I thought that cows need to be milked. I mean, there's so many misconceptions that I had, and then I learned about the atrocities of the dairy industry and how milk is actually a product of a cow that was impregnated and the baby was stolen so that we can steal its milk. It devastated me.
Yeah.
So I started making my own cheese because I loved cheese and I missed the robust, complex flavors of cheese. And I found that the vegan cheeses on the market didn't really hit the mark for me. So I started dabbling and making my own cheese, and this is the product. My husband didn't go vegan along with me because he will tell you for himself that he was the diehard carnivore.
Okay.
But the cheese helped him to get there.
So,
And
Neil,
he's
what
now
was your
vegan.
journey?
I've only been vegan for about 3 years now, and as Tina said, I was making food for me and making food for her, and it wasn't too bad, but I was being absorbed into the whole animal rights movement and seeing what was out there, but I was also very affected by what was happening to our planet and the whole climate change and sustainability arguments that were going on. And then for my own personal health, I had a lot of issues from a bad car accident, and I thought, well, if I can do anything that can help me, and well, plant-based is the way to go. And numerous studies around the world indicate that definitely lessen your risk factors if you have a plant-based menu. And Tina's a fantastic cook. She started making this great cheese, and unbeknownst to her, I took it to a local health food store.
Oh.
And
This is how it happened. Okay.
yeah, I told them we have this wonderful store in Thornhill called Ambrosia,
Right.
and it's an all-natural store. They're not completely vegan store.
I know the story, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Sharon's a really open-minded owner, and she said, "Bring it by. We'd love to try it." And I did. And the next thing we knew, they want the cheese, and we called it the Accidental Company, because Tina was working in the corporate world as a director of development, and she was doing this all on the side. So I decided to kick in and help her. And one thing led to another, and now we're in 20 stores, and we're selling online worldwide.
Wow.
It's all his fault.
Yeah.
And you're obviously not just doing this from your own kitchen anymore.
No. That's what I initially started doing.
Yeah.
I was making for my own kitchen for myself, and
Right.
because he loved it so much, I thought, great, he can go vegan. And all of our pre-vegan friends and family tasted our cheese and thought that it was dairy cheese. They couldn't distinguish that it was vegan cheese.
Right.
The kids thought that when I put the spreads on the bagels, they thought that they were just eating regular cheese. And Neil said, this is too good. You're depriving people in the city and the vegans in the city of really good cheese. So I actually initially took it to the Vegan Danish Bakery in Thornhill,
Oh.
and they were carrying it, but then Neil took it a step further, and that started a whole new job, career, life for us when a retail store wanted to carry our cheese. So that's basically, we did the homework and the research and figured out what we needed to do to get onto retail shelves. And the company's grown organically from there. Since I was working full time, I wasn't really pursuing any growth opportunities. I was just kind of happy to be in one store. But we're in about 20 stores now in Toronto, and that's just through organic growth where stores are calling us and asking us for our cheese.
Wow. So your cheese is that good. Now, what's the secret? Because as you said, usually vegan cheese, people can tell that this is vegan. I mean, I just had someone the weekend at a wellness market, and I could tell that's not the same as cheese. So are you going to tell the secret?
Oh, well, I don't know that it's a secret. I mean, there are some basic techniques that we use to grow our cultures, and it's very similar to the same process that's used in making dairy cheese, but we're using cashews or tofu instead of dairy milk.
And culturing from that.
We actually grow our own cultures from sprouted quinoa. It's called Rejuvilac. So we sprout our own quinoa, and the sprouted quinoa becomes the bacterial cultures that we use to then blend with cashews and ferment.
Right.
We've been fermenting foods. Humans have been fermenting foods for hundreds of years. But that gives it a more complex flavor. And then it's the ingredients that we mix it with and the amount of time that we age it. So we have some. We use dark vegan beer in one of our cheeses. We use white wine in another cheese. So they're quite unique. I think that's what sets them apart from the other cheeses on the market right now. And also, we have 7 products on the market currently, and they all are extremely different in flavor and some in texture as well. And we have 1 tofu-based cheese.
That's true too, because a lot of times with vegan cheese, they taste pretty much the same as each other and not necessarily like cheese at all.
Right.
What was the first variety you came up with?
I think the first one was the feta. I really wanted to try to do a feta, and I used nuts for a feta. I tried macadamia nuts and almond nuts. And it didn't really taste like cheese. It tasted like vegan cheese that's trying to be cheese.
It was very grainy. It wasn't crumbly at all.
Yeah, and so then I started using the tofu, and I think I've really nailed it with the tofu because it crumbles like a feta. It bakes like a feta.
Amazing.
And then we started with the spreads because that was the simplest, right? Just making the spreads. And then I started experimenting with more complex flavors and textures, and that's when I started blending with white wine and with beer, and then we did the smoke for the smoked Gouda. It was a lot of fun just playing and testing different cheeses. And he was the
guinea pig, or
yeah,
what?
he was the guinea pig.
Are we going to do some guinea pigging ourselves?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And Tina has about 12 wonderful cheese recipes, but these are the 7 that we've gone to market with. But I get surprised when she gets in the kitchen. She'll just be creative, and we've had some friends come by and just go, "Wow, I just knocked it out of the park in terms of the flavors, the robust." And we have a tiny little townhouse, and we were growing our own basil, and she made wonderful brie with basil pesto. It was just fantastic.
Oh, I have to tell the story of the brie. So I finally made a brie, and I was going to do a brie en croûte. So I take a little wheel of brie, and I put it on the coffee table, and I went back in the kitchen to try to, make the brie en croûte with the other wheel. It's now in the oven, and I came out, gone. The entire wheel of brie.
It was very delicious.
Oh, there's the culprit. I was going to say, do you have a dog or something like
No,
that?
it was me.
It was
me.
you.
It was
Wow.
great.
Yeah, so when I put stuff out to test, I have to be there, otherwise it's going to disappear.
But I guess if it disappears, you know it's good.
Yes.
So you have 4 varieties of cheese, and what are the 3 different spreads?
So I have 3 spreads. They're sun-dried tomato and basil, and then an urban garlic. And the urban garlic is very much like a Bourgeon style cheese. It has the same flavor. And then the last one that we did was the creamy chive. So we went out with 6 originally, and then I have a creamy chive spread. And the 3 spreads are actually the cleanest. So they have nothing but nuts and the herbs and the culture, of course. And then the other cheeses have, as I said, white wine, beer.
And coconut oil in one of them?
Coconut oil is in the feta.
Okay.
That's what sets it.
Nice.
And it's a refined coconut oil, so there's no
coconut
coconutty flavor.
Right.
It's just, it actually tastes exactly like feta. And we made spanakopita at home, and I just went crazy for it. And because those are the little appetizers and snacks you miss, when you first go vegan. Like, no doubt animals taste great, so it's about having alternative appetizers and delicious food that, for me, mimics animal-based products, but without the harm and the cruelty, of course, and then with the health benefits of having plant-based. But the festivals that we've done where we've brought the spanakopita's, people can't believe that they're not that they are vegan, that they aren't regular. We had a Greek chef actually want to go partners with us to try to make them, but right now we're just in the cheese business, and we're doing
Don't want to spread ourselves too thin.
Yeah, it's enough to work.
And do you have like a background in cooking that has helped you with this? Or
Not
just-
a professional background.
No, I don't
in
mean
cooking.
that, but I mean-
I've just always loved to cook, and
Okay.
I have to say that I've loved to cook more so since going vegan, because I don't have to touch a dead animal.
Right.
Even before I was vegan, I was a little bit put off by meat, to touch meat or cook meat. But for me, this is really all about the animals. I mean,
Right.
I'm an ethical vegan. That's why I went vegan. And what really inspired me to move ahead with the company while I was working full time was that if this cheese is so good, according to people, that they can't even distinguish that it's vegan, and it helps one person to kind of make the switch, then I've done my job.
Right.
And also to provide delicious food for vegans, right?
Now, how did you come to the attention of PETA? This is a big deal.
Yeah, it really is a big deal. So a few years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, just before we had officially launched the company, PETA was coming to Toronto.
So this is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Correct.
Okay, PETA, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to donate my cheese, so I contacted them and said, I'm making this wonderful vegan cheese. Can I donate it for your event? And they said, certainly.
Wow.
So I donated the cheese. And
we had no signage or anything at
we
the time.
did. We weren't really. We were just
anonymous
starting.
cheese.
Yeah. We had business cards, we had packaging, but we weren't really.
But no stickers. I mean, none of
No.
this cool stuff you got now.
No, because we were just at Ambrosia at the one
Right.
store, and Ingrid tried the cheese. Ingrid Newkirk is the president of PETA. So she tried the cheese and she absolutely loved it. The cheddar was her favorite, being an English woman, because that's what they eat.
Right.
And she said it was the best cheddar she's had since going vegan, and so she told everybody in the room. And everybody was trying this cheese, and there was no signage, and they were saying, whose cheese is this? Where do we get it? What is it? And they were asking all of the staff, and the staff were pointing to the two people in the room. That's Neil and Tina, it's their cheese. And we were kind of swarmed, and people were saying, where do we buy this cheese? And I think I had 2 or 3 business cards that I put down in front, which were scooped up very quickly.
Right.
But that was the first time that PETA had tried our cheese, and since then, they've been incredibly supportive. They've named me as one of their favorite female entrepreneurs that run vegan companies that are successful and help animals, and one of their favorite dairy-free products in Canada.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then a personal endorsement from Ingrid.
A personal endorsement from Ingrid, and I also just received the Compassionate Business Award from PETA last
wonderful.
month.
Nice.
Yeah, extremely honored.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Doing your part to change things.
Yes, and I think part of the recognition is because PETA recognizes that I am doing this for the animals. I mean, my tagline is handcrafted with passion and compassion. We're proudly vegan. Vegan is in our name. It's on our packaging. It's on our box. We're not shying away from the word that vegan. It's all about the animals for me.
Right.
And of course, people who are lactose intolerant or don't want to
They're
eat
helped
dairy.
along the way.
Absolutely,
But,
they're enjoying
but definitely
it as
raising
well.
the consciousness level of the planet a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what it's about for me.
Should we try and
Please,
should we,
please do.
Could you lead us through
do.
a little, like, what
Okay,
would you
so-
recommend? Because it's like a wine tasting, I
Yes,
imagine.
it is. I know, and I should have brought the wine.
Given that it's liquid lunch.
Yes.
Well, Neil's favorite is the smoked Gouda, which is here. I don't know if you want me to do this without. I don't have my food glove on again, or whether you want to help yourself. So we've got some crackers here.
I'm sure they won't mind your fingers.
This is the smoked Gouda. That's the one that's made with white wine. This is the pub cheddar with dark beer and chives. This is the crumbly feta, which is made with tofu. And then this is the sharp cheddar. That's Ingrid's favorite. And over here, I believe we have the fine herb and garlic. So this is the bourgeon type spread. And that's clearly the sun-dried tomato because it's red, so I can identify it. And then this is the creamy chive.
You can't do all, but we can just sample a bit and then.
Absolutely. So let me know what you'd like to try. Are there any
I would
preferences?
love to try the Gouda. Does it actually, you've actually grown a rind on it as well?
No,
Or is
no.
is it a...
There isn't actually a rind on it. And then I need to grab a knife. Because I
let
didn't
me go.
grab it.
Let me go and get it.
I can start with a spread.
You could probably just use a knife from one of those.
Okay, well, I can start with a spread since I have these spreads on the go. So this is the fine herb and garlic.
Alright.
Oh, sorry, you have a cracker.
So we'll see how this goes. Fine herb and garlic.
Yeah, sorry, I should have grabbed those knives to go along with this. So that one's sort of like the bourgeon style cheese. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I should have done that. And you'd like to start with the Gouda?
So that one passes the tastes like cheese test. That one.
Which one did you just
So
try?
You tried the fine herb and garlic spread because I had a spreader in there. I'm going to give you the smoked Gouda. And then you can dig into. Oh, now this is a really big piece of smoked Gouda.
There you go.
I don't think I'm going to complain that much. Oh, there's a little bit smaller. Thank you.
I'll try that. Can we go in there?
Okay, can I put some more on there for you, or
Well, we'll start with.
Okay.
So this is the Gouda.
That's the
This is
smoked
my
Gouda.
favorite, though. It's the one that I said, okay, I think I could be a vegan because I miss smoky flavors.
Like a barbecuing.
Yes, I was the barbecue king when I was not a
Right.
vegan.
do you want to try one of the spreads, the fine urban?
And that's why I'm finding, with just in the short time I've been a vegan, the number of wonderful meat
So
alternatives.
the creamy chive
I
is
mean, A&W is carrying the Beyond Beef Burger, and they were sold out for
Neil's
like a month and a
favorite,
half.
too.
Really?
So
and one of
popular.
mine. We have that on bagels every
Completely
morning.
plant-based,
or
and
on
it
toast
leads
and
just
with
like regular
tomatoes.
hamburger patties.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So things are going. Quite,
Oh yeah, there's
you know,
there's an explosion.
moving, yeah.
I want you
There's
to
an
try
explosion.
the feta. I'm going to try to see if I can do this because it's quite crumbly. Feta isn't something that you'd normally necessarily put out on a cheese platter. We generally put it on a salad or we bake with it. But it has a very crumbly texture and a very unique flavor. And this is actually our best seller, the feta. I think it's because there aren't a lot of vegan fetas on the market, and it really is quite authentic.
The urban garlic is great. That's absolutely delicious.
Do you notice how I keep overloading
I get
your
paid in
crackers?
cheese. I have no shortage of.
Yeah, I don't think I would know if I had like a cheese feta and that feta. I would know which one was cheese or not.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That like right under the radar on that one.
Okay, so
I'm gonna say I'm a real sucker for garlic, so that's a really nice balance.
You like
and
that?
The, and the sun-dried tomato and basil has a little bit of garlic too, as well, and big chunks of sun-dried tomato.
okay, the pub cheddar is the one with the beer, so it's quite unique as well. They're all so different,
Still a bit of my
And-
pepper. Okay, you got it.
and everybody has their own favorites.
I like the color of that one.
The pub cheddar,
Yeah, it's got a nice earthy, robust flavor, and there's lots of chives in there as well.
That's
one of
terrific.
these?
I can just imagine. I can really imagine cooking with it.
yeah.
You said it actually melts.
Yes,
like-
well, it doesn't
Or
fall
it bakes,
apart. It
though.
bakes beautifully. So we,
Actually, last night Tina surprised me with ravioli that she made from scratch with our feta and arugula tied in together, and it
Oh,
was
delicious.
just a diet
okay,
for it with
trick
a little.
lies. I didn't make it from scratch. I used wonton rolls.
Oh,
You know the-
well, yeah, not our own.
so I didn't make my own
pasta.
which
Your
is
own pasta.
so easy. So I just blanched some arugula, and I mixed it in with the feta, and made some ravioli, and it was pretty much
It
to die
was,
for.
yeah,
I'd say.
it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
I really like the feta.
Yeah,
do, right?
That is,
Yeah, the feta is our best seller.
Well, as you say, I don't know if I've actually seen another vegan feta on the market.
I think I've seen one or two, and there was quite a bit of palm oil in one of them. But anyway, the nice thing is that there are so many vegan cheeses that are popping up, and there's something for everyone. Like as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. I'm always excited when there's a new vegan cheese on the market.
yeah, Canada's producing some really nice vegan cheeses now. I call it a small vegan cheese community, but we all talk to one another. We all try different flavors, and we have a competitor in London, Nuts for Cheese. She's making
That's
a
the
blue
sharp
cheese.
cheddar.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I love it. It's fantastic. And then we have our friends at Cultured. They have a sriracha cheese, which is really amazing.
That's nice. I would like that as a non-vegan
Yeah.
cheese.
Yeah.
It's even more exciting that it's something that I don't think you can get as a. Thank you.
And then there's Fromagerie in Zengari, which is in
Yeah.
Ottawa.
There's so many
She's-
wonderful.
She's doing a
so many
beer.
wonderful vegan cheeses. I think the more the merrier, and there are more popping up every day, and they are all very different.
So how does this is a sort of a weird question, but there's been this this trade agreement with the states on dairy, which is going to affect the dairy market here apparently,
Yeah.
which won't affect you. But how about the competition with American companies or is that happening
On the from a vegan
from
cheese
a vegan
front?
cheese front?
Well, I think the biggest vegan cheese in the American market is Mayokos, and she's the queen of vegan cheese.
She's
and-
based in California.
She's actually the one that inspired me because I had tried vegan cheeses here in Canada and I wasn't crazy about them. As I said, they didn't have the big bold robust flavors that I wanted. So when we went to the States, we saw Mayokos, and I wasn't even familiar with it at the time. I bought a box. We have a place in Florida. We went back to our home, tried this cheese, and we were astounded. We were,
Right.
wow, vegan cheese can taste like this? So I hate to admit that we actually ordered all of her cheese, 2 of each, from California, shipped to Florida, and we ate them all. They were just disgusting. They were so good. They were so good. But that inspired me. I said, vegan cheese can be this good. So that's when I started tinkering around and trying to come up with my own recipes. But Mayokos is coming to Canada, I believe, in November. So I think it's fantastic. I mean, the more the merrier. As I say, in a perfect world, what I'd love to see is to walk into a grocery store and see as much vegan cheese as there is dairy cheese.
Right.
So, and I think that's going to happen someday as people realize, the benefits to the planet, to their health, and particularly for me, the animals. I'm recognizing that there are more and more vegans that are popping up every day, and people that are making the decision to at least go more plant-based. And I think, the better the options are, better tasting they are.
And we notice even when you go out to eat, like restaurants are offering vegan options. It's not just like, rolling their eyes and saying, oh, sorry, go somewhere else. And that's going to make it more marketable, and then more non-vegans will be willing to try things, and then they'll go, wow, this is going to be healthier for me, and it's going to help the planet. And then if it, because some people don't, for me, I admit, the cruelty aspect, it didn't resonate with me right away. It affected Tina greatly, and she was instant ethical vegan. It took me longer, and I definitely I'm all about the animals as well. But I also see that for certain individuals, they're going to have to find their own way to that path. And it's like global warming. Some people just don't want to believe that it's being caused.
But even if you can go on health and cost, and vegan products can be expensive, but they can also be really economical if you're doing
the
things
thing
right.
I think there's a fallacy about the expense. When you have an artisan cheese like this that's handcrafted and it's a small business, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. We don't have the subsidies that the dairy industry does, right? So if the dairy industry didn't have the subsidies, no one would be able to afford dairy cheese. But in terms of affordability for vegan food in general, it's less expensive. Vegan food is beans and rice and
fruits and vegetables.
There's nothing cheaper than that.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do you think the trick is for like a healthy vegan diet versus maybe what could be an unhealthy vegan diet?
Well, I think the whole food plant-based is the healthy vegan diet. But I think from a transition perspective, a lot of people who are used to eating a lot of animals and hamburgers and fried chicken and whatnot, I think there's a wonderful market for that now, so that people can transition into the fake meats. And Neil is he's a big proponent of fake meats because he misses the meat. So he does eat the fake meats. He buys them, and I don't. I'm not interested in them, but. And they're not necessarily healthy, but they're definitely healthier for the planet. So not necessarily healthy.
Because they have a lot of filler in them, right?
Yeah, some of them have filler, and some of them are just, they've got a lot of additional ingredients that are not necessarily healthy. But if it helps make the transition, it'll still help the planet and helps the animals. And I think from Neil's perspective, because you like meat so much, he has the option to do that, but then there's so many wonderful dishes that you can make. You can swap out meat for beans, or the avocado for the sour cream. There's so many options that are healthier.
I've had a quinoa-based shepherd's pie that was indistinguishable and so good, and also had cauliflower instead of potatoes, so you're getting that extra benefit of the...
Tina's being East Indian, one of the first things that I really enjoyed in the Indian cuisine was butter chicken.
Right.
And she has a recipe that's just out of this world using soy curls. And it still has all the flavor there's no meat product, there's no cheese product, and it's just so rich and
and it's non-GMO.
full tasting.
It's extremely healthy. And we've had people over for dinner, and I've made the butter chicken, and they've actually they've actually thanked me for bending my ethics and cooking the meat. Not a chance. That was not me.
So just on that, the butter chicken, for instance, when I was in India, I was on a vegetarian diet because the Hindu-based population is vegetarian.
Right.
So, and this has been going on for forever. So it's not as if we need meat. Obviously, 1 billion Hindus can't be wrong. They're not
because
dying
they're not
off.
dead,
They're not dead, so they're thriving. But where did this whole meat, like the butter chicken aspect of Indian food, which is sort of more popular, I think, here when you think of Indian food than the vegetarian style of Indian food?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously not everyone in India is Hindu, and there
Right.
are meat-based dishes
Right.
as well, right? But the Hindu diet is obviously primarily vegetarian. But even being vegetarian, there was a very big dairy component
Right.
to food,
Yeah.
right?
But were those cows maybe more ethically treated, do you think? Or do you think, especially if you go back a while ago, I mean, I'm not sure if the whole mass, like I saw a film a while ago, Temple Grandin, maybe you're
No, not
aware of
familiar.
her. Okay, so she was the one who came up with a little more of a better way that cows would be herded into the stalls, etc.
that movie is completely taken out of context, and it was a wonderful movie. I know the one Taylor Dane was the star,
Yeah.
and I think she won a bunch of awards. But from my own personal perspective, I saw the movie before I became vegan, and I thought, oh, isn't that a wonderful way to design a slaughterhouse?
Well, it's still slaughterhouse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no humane way for killing somebody that doesn't want to be killed, right?
Exactly. There was no such thing as humane slaughter.
the beauty of that movie was that she was an autistic
Right.
person that found her place in the world closer to animals, and she
Right.
had a wonderful affinity, and she wanted to spare them as much suffering as she could,
Yeah.
right? But in terms of
Well, certainly the meat market today
Exactly.
is out of control.
well, there's
But there is that.
unfortunately, even though veganism is growing, meat industry across the planet is growing,
It's
and
growing
that's
as
what's
well.
destroying the Amazon
Yeah.
rainforest.
Yeah.
They're destroying parts
Sure.
of the Congo because
Right.
they want pasture lands, and we can more than feed the whole planet many times over with plant-based foods.
Right.
It's the animal agriculture and the factory farming that's really destroying the world.
Yeah, the factory farm.
and our health.
And the amount of grain that we're growing to feed the animals,
Right.
to feed us, and we can just get rid of the middleman, which is
Right,
the animal,
yeah.
and eat the plants
Right.
directly, and that we end world hunger.
How does Canada stack up just generally in terms of vegan presence and ethics?
Well, we have some of the worst animal protection laws in the Western Hemisphere.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
It's
Absolutely.
pretty rough right now, and even the people that are animal activists, they're being treated as criminals when they're trying to protect
Right.
the animals. And I get a lot of my information through the social media that Tina exposes me to, but it's amazing that so many animals are mistreated and suffering brutality
Right.
at the hands of farm workers, whereas if it was a cat or a dog, we'd be on front page
We'd be up
news
in
and
arms.
Yeah.
There
having
are no
protests. So
protections for farmed animals whatsoever.
and that's what I find now that I'm on board as an ethical vegan as well, that to separate the humanity between certain species of
no, for
animals.
sure.
Well, it's called speciesism, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
speciesism, yeah.
how can we breed?
We're
to
compassionate
life?
to our cats and dogs.
Yeah, and like why love
Yeah.
one and eat the other?
Yeah.
And it's cultural, right? So we all go crazy when they have the Yule and Dog Festival. But we're having a Yule and Dog Festival all over the world with every other animal.
Right.
And we're just not making the connection. We've been conditioned to believe some animals are okay to love and some are okay to eat. Meanwhile, I mean, a pig is far more intelligent than a dog and just as affectionate. But we're eating them. And we're not just eating them, we're breeding them
To eat.
into a life of tortures and suffering, and they're all babies. We slaughter them when they're babies. Like pigs are slaughtered when they're 6 months old. We're not making the connection because we don't have the information. A lot of people don't know this. I didn't know, and that's when I found out. I went vegan immediately, but I attribute the internet to a lot of, I mean, the information is out there, it's available. And if you look for it, and even if you don't, because I wasn't looking for it when it came my way, and I went vegan instantly, the information is there, and it will either resonate with you or it won't, but something will resonate with everybody on some level, whether it's the environment or your own health, or the health of a loved one. I mean, there are studies that...
And on that note, about the health aspects, I mean, the World Health Organization came out many years ago and said that processed foods, particularly bacon, is a carcinogen.
Right.
And it might as well just be frying up cigarettes and giving to your kids. And yet that didn't catch on. It didn't become front page news because it's not advertising dollars.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
are, it's not the
And you've got some
McDonald's.
very powerful lobbies
Sure,
involved
sure.
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are
agricultural
getting-
industry, the pharma industry, all the pharmaceuticals
We're
are going to the animals to keep them alive.
And we're subsidizing those industries to our own detriment.
Yeah.
which affects our health, which increases our healthcare costs. I mean, it's a vicious cycle, and I don't know where the conspiracy started and how it started, but definitely we know better now.
Greed.
Well, we know better now.
You just follow the money.
I mean,
right?
you individuals here doing these shows, bringing to light, social issues,
right.
Exactly, and the social media is exploding. Kids nowadays have everything at their fingertips, and we were only taught what we were taught in school. We didn't know about all the atrocities in the world. If it wasn't in our textbooks, we really didn't learn about it.
Yeah.
No, and I think there's a reason you take your kids strawberry picking and apple picking and you don't take them to the slaughterhouse.
Right.
And when we've got the cube of truth out there with people showing you what happens in a slaughterhouse and this is where your food comes from, you see a lot of mothers shielding their children from shielding their eyes from that.
Yeah.
But if it isn't okay for their eyes, how is it okay for their bodies and their stomachs? I mean, we're so conditioned to disconnect ourselves from the lives that we're taking, and then when you find out not just that it's a slaughterhouse, or that even if a cow has had a happy life or a chicken has had a great life, I still don't think we have the right to slaughter it. Who are we to say that it's okay to take its life and now eat it? I gave it a good life. I disagree with that. You can't humanely slaughter any animal, and regardless of how it was raised, it still ends up going to a slaughterhouse and fearing for its life and screaming for its life. And we're shielding our children from that. We're shielding ourselves from that. I mean, my own family and Neil's family doesn't want to know. They've all told us, I don't want to know.
Right. So they're still eating meat. and
Yes,
stuff
they
like
all
that.
eat meat because they don't want to know, because they know that if they see the truth, you can't.
Yeah.
When you know better, you do better.
But I think even I'm sure they've sampled your wares
Oh, I
and
love
are
it.
so even incremental
That's
That's
I
right.
guess maybe we can't. Nothing changes overnight.
Exactly.
And perhaps if people can diminish their meat consumption by,
Right.
30%,
Absolutely.
and exchange it for this kind of food, vegan food of different stripes, that will make that incremental change. And then the
Absolutely.
kids growing up on that will be incremental. Maybe we don't have that much time.
No, but it starts
But
with knowledge,
starts, yeah.
right? And that's planting a seed. And when
Yeah.
you have the knowledge, then you start thinking for yourself, as opposed to just being conditioned.
Yeah.
And no, absolutely, the world isn't going to go vegan overnight. It's
Right.
just not going to happen. It's not realistic. But yes, you might reduce your meat consumption. You might think twice. I mean, there's studies that prove that a whole food plant-based diet actually is the only way to reverse heart disease. Not just
Right.
stop it in its tracks, but reverse it. It's the healthiest thing that we can do for ourselves. So when we stop eating animals, they stop making us sick, right? But so the information has to come out. People have to at least be willing to hear it. Whether it's the cruelty to animals aspect, I can understand people don't want to see it, fine. But it's there, and that's where your food is coming from. But the health aspect is so important. And our planet, we've been told that we have 12 years before it's irreversible, right? The degradation to the planet, and the greatest degradation to the planet comes from animal agriculture, more than all transportation combined.
Jen, you asked earlier about the House Canada Fair.
Yeah.
I can tell you from what I've read that in parts of Europe, they're way ahead of us. Like they estimate that 30% of all Germans now are vegan.
That's incredible.
But they're way
Yeah.
ahead of us in the the alternate fuels, using wind power, solar power. So but it has to be backed by the government. And once you take away the subsidies in Canada here, in our own province, we've actually taken 3 steps backwards. We've taken it back, that little rebate that they were giving electric cars.
Right. Well,
yeah.
this is the difference of who gets elected, right?
No, but that's what I was going to say.
It's all political and follow the
Because
money. again.
follow the money.
Follow
Because
the
I mean,
money.
Follow the money, exactly.
the Ford government with its its mentality versus what happened in the last German elections, where actually I think the German Green Party got a lot of seats.
Yeah, just read about that yesterday.
So there's going to be a swing of power just by that. Whereas here we have one Green Party seat, and that's in Guelph.
Yes, but we have
That's
one.
it. One. We have one.
We have one.
So, that has to translate into the next election. And I think, hopefully people will become a little more conscious of that. But it has to spread out beyond the cities, too, because it's often like in the cities where the consciousness is and the
Right.
vegans are. And then people outside the cities think of these crazy, hipsters in the city or
Well, and
something.
sometimes they're relying on animal agriculture in a way that
Yeah.
the people in the cities don't.
Right. Exactly.
If you, we're getting a little bit off the cheese business,
yeah, we are.
but it's wonderful.
It's a
if you
big issue.
If you had a dairy farmer who's getting huge subsidies to pour milk down the drain, that's
That's what's happening, yeah.
which
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, it's
to
crazy.
me is completely crazy.
Yeah.
It's like if I was making Apple phones, but nobody was using them, and we
You're
were
throwing
destroying them
You
and
were
shoving
getting
them,
paid to
but you were getting
destroy
paid to keep making them.
Yeah, yeah.
If we taught those people how to start diversifying their crops to more
Yeah.
plant-based.
Well, they did that with the push for canola oil.
Well, yeah, and now we have lentils. Canada is now one of the biggest exporters of lentils in the
That's
world in Saskatchewan. So these are the things I'm kind of going, well, it has to be a government push there.
Well, you know what's going to push it is supply and demand. If people stop purchasing, you know, the sales of dairy and milk have plummeted.
I talked a little bit
They've
before
been
the show
plummeted.
About the A&W, which is a big
The
food
veggie
truck.
burger.
The
Yeah.
veggie burger, and
Beyond Burger.
and that's called Beyond Beef Burger. And we've had those for about 3 years now down in Florida, and they're wonderful. They barbecue up, they bleed a little bit like a regular meat, and you can put spices on them. And I'm sure that A&W says, well, we'll give it a go. They sold out of those
First
within
day.
first, and
They've
they were
been sold out at my
for a
AW
month.
for a month.
For a month, yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're finally advertising. Yesterday I was watching the basketball game and I saw an A&W. I said, oh my God, they're actually advertising the Beyond Beef Burger.
Right.
So once you get the big...
Yeah, we're getting it's getting into pop culture.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is great. So I think we've
It's-
really moved into like awakening people who are watching this
Yeah.
and understanding and
So this is our little form of
This is-
activism.
so and how can people get in touch with you on the Vegan Stokes cheese, by the way?
So our website is veganstokes.com,
Okay.
and we're on social media as well, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter
Okay.
at Vegan Stokes.
Okay. So and you can remember this, people, like you're stoked to eat the Vegan
We are
Stokes cheese. So
stoked.
we're stoked. So Vegan Stokes cheese, remember that? I think we should probably go out with that and hope that people make that transition.
Great.
That's what we need.
Thank you for having
Yes,
us
very
on.
much so.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And we'll look forward to eating this. Sorry, people, you can't sample that.
Dig in.
Dig in. Okay.